I've been trying to jazz myself up now for the last 20 minutes to start recording this. And do you know something? I'm just gonna, this is not exactly a wild take, but fuck January so much. I am struggling and problems are relative, but, wow, this fucking month, I just want it to be over. I don't want to be here, Wow. And look, right, normally, I go away for most of January. I just fucking bail, man. I just bail. And this is my first time having to raw dog it through this month. And wow, you people live like this? This is how you live? This is what it's like? What the fuck? It's awful. It's so bad. Jesus. Sorry, I'm starting off really moany hole. I know you're listening to this for a bit of crack and, a bit of enjoyment. And I'm not supposed to be adding to that. I apologise. Hi. Hello. My name is Brian Lloyd. You are listening to Screenland. This is a podcast about TV and movies and the big screen and the small screen and the one in your hand. Not the screen of misery that is over our lives. Yeah. God. Oh, wow. Okay, we have to find our pleasures. This is the thing. We have to joyfully shut up, computer. We have to joyfully participate in the miseries of the world. We must continue. All will be well, and all will be well, and all things will be well. So, okay, here we are. How are you? How's is January bad for you? Let me know in the comments. Drop us a comment. Drop us a message on Instagram. Drop us a something on Blue Sky. I'm not calling them skeets. Have some and you're not calling them that either. Have some fucking respect for yourself. All right? Jesus. It's okay. It's fine. It's fine. This is a podcast. I wanted to do this. No one forced me to do this. This is not, I can stop whenever I want. I am not forcing myself to do this. Listener, you are listening in on a therapy session I am giving myself today. So I might not even put this out. I might just delete all this. No, fuck it. No, I've come this far. No, this is it. You see, I talk myself out of things. Oh, okay. Let's just drop all that. Let's just put a pin in it. Okay. Let's talk about films. 28 years later, The Bone Temple. I was okay on 28 years later. It's not that I don't like horror movies. I like them fine. If they're good, I like them fine. I do think 28 Days Later is one of those films that got a lot of kudos and got a lot of kind of cultural imprint because it came at a time when the idea of British horror was kind of waning, and the idea of social horror, or dystopian post-apocalyptic horror felt kind of far away, because you got to remember, in the 90s when this came out, everything was pretty great, things were good, pretty much. It wasn't as if, okay, look, I'm not saying there weren't problems. Of course there were problems. I'm just saying, broadly speaking, things were not terrible. But then you know, 9/11 happened and the internet happened, and you could feel that there was a turn. And then 28 days later here, and that was 2002, so this was like a year after 9/11. And you got the sense, I was only like 16 when it came out. Like, you got the sense that the world was turning. Like, there's that great... Hunter S. Thompson wrote this great article for Rolling Stone. I think it was like on September 12th or something like that. Or it was basically like the day after 9/11. And, you know, the line that I take away from it, the party's over, folks. You know? And it feels like, you know, 28 years later, I thought was a great example of, you know, world building and reminding us that, you know, our problems, whatever they may be, they are our problems. And when you're locked in with them and everything becomes, you know, the horror of it becomes normalized. Because, like, I loved what I loved about the first, or 28 years later, I should say, was like, when I think it was Swedish or maybe it was Norwegian, I can't remember, but the Scandinavian guy lands on the island and he's all like, why would I want to come to this shithole and stuff? And you get the idea, like, oh yeah, no, the world has moved on. Everyone has moved on. These people are stuck here, you know? Like, the culture for, like, it's just been completely walled off from the rest of the world. And I mean, I know that was something I loved, you know, thinking back to 28 Days Later and that small little scene where they look up and they see the camera and it's like, or not, they see, not to see the camera, they see the plane, I should say. And it's like, everyone's just moved on. We're just left alone here. And then 28 years later, I think, kind of moved into that walling in a bit more and kind of brought in the sort of, you know, the myth making of, you know, this sceptered isle, you know, this, you know, demi-paradise, you know, the idea of, like, Britain moves on and, you know, it will prevail and stuff and we will survive, and, you know, it's gone back to this very kind of rustic time. But, like, you know, the thing about, like, you know, you look at, like, Make America Great Again, or you look at, like, the Reform Party, or you look at any of these kind of, like, conservative movements, and they're trying to bring it back to, you know, an idealized past. But the reality of it is that that past was actually not that fucking good to begin with. And it was pretty terrible. And that's all kind of brought into why, you know, Jack O'Connell's character is Jimmy Savile. He's based on Jimmy Savile. And again, what's kind of funny about it is by the time sort of, you know, culture stopped in Britain in this film, people still thought Jimmy Savile was cool, or at least didn't realize that he was this absolute monster, you know. And now we have a marauding group of savages dressed like Jimmy Savile, you know, patrolling the wastelands, skinning people alive and stuff. And it's very, you know, like, it's Alex Garland. You know, he's very clever at, you know, warping pop culture around some pretty messed up ideas. And, like, if you look at Dredd, which was, I think it's his best work, and that is including, you know, Annihilation, that's including Devs, that's including Civil War, all of them. I think Dredd is his best work because it gets satire, it gets the sort of, you know, the sci-fi thriller aspect, it gets the dystopia, it gets the cynicism, it gets that sort of Gen X cynicism very, very well. And, you know, yeah, so, like, there's a lot to like about this, but the problem that I kind of had with it was it's so unrelentingly miserable. It's so unrelentingly, you know, down. And, you know, as things kind of go along, in the world, and it's very hard to fucking. I don't know. Maybe it's just I'm overly. Maybe it's just because it's fucking January and stuff, and I'm just kind of I'm at a low ebb myself. That I was watching this and it was just like it felt like I was being beaten over the head. That kind of way. It was like there's no way out here. It's like fuck. Like what the? Come on. Like it's gotta. And it's just unrelenting. And even when it goes to Ray Fiennes' character, and he's meant to be this sort of like last bastion of humanity and all the rest of it. He himself is existing, that kind of way. Like it's he's kind of existing, but he's not really living, because how can he live? Because the world that he lives in is dead, and it's that thing of like he has his little pleasures, like he's making his bone temple, he's making this reliquary, he's dancing around to Duran Duran and stuff like that, and he's getting high as balls on his blow dart thing that he has. And then there's this great like little sort of subplot with the alpha, the big huge dicked alpha from 28 years later. He comes back into this, and it becomes this thing of like he's trying to understand the rage virus, and he's trying to understand the cure, or at least what could be the cure to it. And there's a great scene in it where the alpha, who's being drugged by consent by Dr. Kenson, Ray Fiennes' character, and he has this kind of flashback to the before times, as it were. And it's really heartbreaking. It really got me, like, and that's not a thing that you would expect in a horror film, especially in a zombie film. And they use the word zombie, by the way. That's another thing I noticed in this. They use the word zombie. Jack O'Connell says the word zombie. And I was like, oh, I thought they had a rule that they never actually mentioned the word zombie, like, even though it's a zombie film, like. Yeah, the more I think about it, the more I like this film. I kind of came out of it and it was a bit like, all right, that was good. Good going. On to the next one now, because it really is kind of a setting up the next one, and it's got its moments for sure. I just think Nia DaCosta, like, having seen this and having seen Candyman, I'm like, okay, like, she is taking the visual palette of Anthony Dodd Mantle and Danny Boyle and all the rest of it. Like, it's a good approximation, but I just wonder, I'm not seeing a distinctive style as opposed to something like, I don't know, like, I mean, I was kind of thinking to myself, maybe there's an opportunity here with a new director that they'll have a different perspective, or at the very least have some kind of unique visual spin on it, and it's fitting into that language, and that's okay, that's fine. I just wonder, why couldn't it have been that they could have done something visually different with it, but I don't know. I enjoyed it. It's good crack. I mean, look, as January horrors go, this is one of the best, because usually they just fuck any kind of horror movie out on a January. Like, there was that one a few years back about the killer swimming pool that just pissed me off something fierce. It was Wyatt Russell and Kerry Condon was in it, and I forget the name of it, but wowee, that was a terrible, terrible film. And then it was Megan 2.0 last year as well, I remember. I didn't see it, but I heard it was terrible. So, yeah. Let's also talk about The Voice of Hind Rajab. Now, this is out in select cinemas. I would encourage you to go see this in cinemas, because right. So what they've do there's been a couple of short films about the killing of Hind Rajab, and what they do in this is tell it from the perspective of the Palestinian Red Crescent Society, who are like these ambulance dispatchers. And what the director does, And I thought this was so, you know, like really kind of drives home a lot of it. It drove home a lot of things to me, but one was that it did not need to embellish. They used the real actual audio files of the calls between Hind Rajab and the Palestinian Red Crescent Society. And in one instance, towards the end, they actually used like one of the social media videos of the callers on the phone, one of the people on the phone to Hind Rajab. But then they had the recreation, as in they had the actors acting it out, what was on the actual screen. And it kind of dawned on me that it was like, you know, they don't need to do any embellishment. They don't need to kind of make any kind of false drama here or all the rest of it. There doesn't need to be... They can literally just use what actually happened, because what actually happened was so unbelievably vicious and cruel and just inhuman in every respect that... And you watch it and like, I mean... You know, they're like, so the audio files that they got from the PRCS were 70 minutes long. They were on the phone to her for 3 hours. The film is 90 minutes long, so it's kind of like it uses every bit of the audio, and then the remaining kind of 20 minutes is used to explain certain aspects of the whole thing. For example, there was an ambulance 8 minutes away from Hind Rajab, and they were on the phone to her for 3 hours. It explains the unbelievable amount of bureaucracy and bullshit that goes through getting an ambulance to anyone in Gaza. It has to go to the Red Cross, and then the Red Cross has to coordinate with the Israeli army, and then the Israeli army has to give an approved route to get to wherever it is. And then it goes from the Israeli army to the Red Cross to the Red Crescent Society. And then the Red Crescent Society has to wait for a green light from the Israeli army to send in rescuers. And so it explains that. And then it also talks about, like, you know, that they tried to involve, like, the Palestinian ambassador to get people to allow them to send somebody there. They explain that. Then they talk about, like, you know, like there's a scene in it where one of the, and I've forgotten the name of the actors now. Like they're Tunisian and Egyptian and Palestinian actors, and he's like trying to get in contact directly with the ambulance driver to basically like, look, ditch the van, just go straight there yourself, cling to the walls and blah 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 blah. And the dispatcher guy is like, you can't do that. Like, and he brings him out and he says, look, these are the last, like, I think it's like 12 people that have died while on a rescue. 12 people are dead. He had 3 kids. She was a mother to 2 kids. He was a grandfather. He points him, it's like, I'm trying to save all these people's lives and save the people that they're saving. Let me fucking do my job, basically. Stop getting in the way. I know you want to save these people. And this is the thing, like, you want, and like, you can feel, you know, you can feel how frustrated and how outraged everyone is. And it's like, it's 8 minutes. It's 8 minutes. They'll be there in 8 minutes. They'll get there. And like the girl, and like, and fucking hell, wow. Like, you can hear the girl, the Hind Rajab, you can hear her pleading, begging them, please come get me, please come get me. I'm really, really scared. Please come get me. And it's real. You know? And, you know, it's, fuck. Like, it really got me. Like, I was watching it and I was thinking to myself, I hope not one fucking person in the Israeli army knows a minute of peace for the rest of their lives. Like, I mean, because it's a docudrama, it goes to the end, and not only was Hind Rajab murdered, but so were the paramedics. that was bombed too. The paramedic ambulance was bombed as well or shelled. 300, I think it was 355 bullets were in the car that when they pulled her out. They were all dead. Everyone in the car was dead. And there were kids in it. And, you know, yeah. How the fuck do you, like, yeah. Oi. So, yeah, that's The Voice of Hind Rajab. Go see it. Go see it. Okay. Let's try and make a sharp turn into TV. Let's talk about Heated Rivalry. I watched Heated Rivalry. Well, that is to say, okay, I watched the first 2 episodes of it. Now, I understand that as a straight, able-bodied man with hair, a lot of popular culture is made for me. But we now have a world where, you know, things are made for the queer community, things are made for women, things are made for people of colour. We live in a multipolar world when it comes to entertainment. And I was watching Heated Rivalry, and I have to talk about it tomorrow on Ireland AM, and I'm trying to come up with a way of explaining why I didn't like it, and it not coming across like I'm homophobic or misogynistic. So that's always fun. I have to go out on live TV and do that with no notes. Okay, fuck it. I'll just rip it. I'm assuming this is a safe space. So please know that I am neither of those things when I get into this. But here we go. Okay, so I watched the first 2 episodes of it, and you know, it's basically softcore porn, right? It's softcore porn. You were like, you know, 15 minutes in, 10 minutes into the first episode, they're going at each other. They are going at each other, and you know, they are extended scenes. They go on for about, you know, 5, 6, 7 minutes, and it's very unapologetic about it. And you know, there's a lot of yearning, there's a lot of romance, there is a lot of desire, and you know, they are good-looking men, and I can see the appeal in the sense of, like, you know, most kind of gay romances, there's a lot of them are kind of treated with, you know, they're a bit down. For example, like, you know, All of Us Strangers, or, you know, Philadelphia even. You know, like there's a trope called Kill Your Gays, where every gay romance has to end in sadness because, you know, they live in a cruel world and blah, 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 blah. And this doesn't have that at all. This is all fun and sexy, and, you know, it's just them. It's just a couple of dudes who are in love with each other, or falling in love with each other, and enjoying the physical aspects of their relationship. And why women, you know, I saw a clip with the 2 of them, Hudson Williams and Connor Merriman, I think is his name. Or did I go to a school with a dude called Connor Merriman? Why is that fucking name sound familiar? Anyways, the 2 of them were talking about it, and, you know, what it was, the Russian dude, Razanov. Well, that's his character's name. He talked about how, you know, when women watch pornography or erotica, it's automatically assumed that they have to identify with the woman in that scene, in a heterosexual scene. They have to identify with that woman. Whereas the fact that it's 2 men, there isn't that pressure. They can just sort of they can just appreciate it for what it is, and they don't have to feel that they have to identify with either of them. They can just appreciate, the intensity and the romance and just the physicality of it, But again, like they say, me being a straight man and I'm watching this, it was like, I'm getting nothing out of this. There's nothing here for me. Because I'm, it's two dudes going at each other. That's, great. Well done. Terrific. But then I had to look. I had to look extra hard at everything else around it, because I was like, well, this is okay. And then I was looking at everything else, and what kind of occurred to me was that, and I swear I'm not trying to shit on this just for the sake of it. Neither one of them are terribly good actors. And also as well, I think is, you can see how cheaply it has been made. Like, there are moments of this where it does look quite cinematic, and the lighting is really good, and you can tell that they're trying to put effort into this and give it a kind of a veneer and stuff. But it does look cheap in places, and the story itself is pretty bog standard. Like, it's pretty, it's rivals to lovers. It's them sneaking around. It's, I think the third episode, Kate has stayed watching it, and she was saying, like, the third episode goes into another hockey player that was gay. I think it was like in the 90s, I'm presuming, and what he had to go through and all the rest of it. And like, we were talking again, I was talking to Kate about this, and like we were saying, like, like in the Premier League, I could be wrong now, I don't think there are any out football players. And like, just the law of averages tells you that amount of football players, there's got to be a gay dude in there somewhere. Just got to be, like, just the law of averages. Like, there has to be, like, but they're not out, or at least I don't know of them anyway. I mean, if you watch football, you can let me know about that, but I'm pretty certain. I think I would have heard that. So yeah, so like Heated Rivalry, like, it's fine, it's okay. I'm saying it from my perspective. There's nothing there for me, and that's okay. There's not everything has to be fucking for straight white men. Do you know what I mean? If you're enjoying it, if you're watching Heated Rivalry and you're liking it, great. Go with God, enjoy it. I watched it and I got nothing out of it. I thought it was kind of cheap. I thought the story was a little bit boring, a little bit plain. Yes, there's lots of yearning. Okay, the two guys in it are very conventionally attractive and stuff, but I don't think they're necessarily good actors, either one of them. So Heated Rivalry, I guess, sure, why not? One thing that I did watch on TV that is starting on Sunday that I really, really did like, and I watched every episode of it and I was hooked, was A Night of the Seven Kingdoms. So this is set, like, I want to say 150 years before Game of Thrones. It's based off of the novellas, The Tales of Dunk and Egg. And it's like, the first one was like the Hedge Knight, the second one was the Mystery Knight. I forget what the third one was, but it's essentially this character who was previously apprenticed to this Hedge Knight, and his name is Duncan, and he takes his master's armour and sword and he decides to set off for this tourney nearby where he hopes to kind of find his fame and fortune, and then find a house, like a royal house, that will take him on as a knight. And while he's on his way there, he stops off in an inn and he meets this young kid who's bald, who's shaved his head off. And this kid is like, oh, I want to be your squire, I'll come with you. And I'm not giving it away, but you can kind of tell that the kid is probably, highborn or whatever. And, Duncan is a little bit silly. He's a little bit, like, he's a bit dim. Like, he's a heart of gold and he's a big gentle giant, but he's a bit of a goof. And he doesn't necessarily clock it, but you're watching it obviously and you kind of get it. I loved how small this was. Even though it's about a big character, I loved how small it was. I loved the fact that the stakes were pretty small. And because the stakes are that small, it means then that you kind of have to focus in on the characters. But thank God, the characters are so well drawn. They are so rich in, depth and dialogue and just, it's just really warm. It's really enjoyable. And it's funny. It's fucking funny. Like, it takes the piss out of itself. Not that it takes the piss out of Game of Thrones necessarily, but yeah, it kind of does a bit. Because it's like, like Duncan who's played by Owen Claffey, who is a Portumna man, Galwegian, used to play for Connacht Rugby, built like a fucking brick shithouse, by the way. My God, that dude is tall, and he does a wonderful job with it. He's really, really good in it. But yeah, so yeah, like it kind of takes the piss out of itself in that he has this sort of romanticized version of knights and knighthood, and then it cuts straight to him taking a shit beside a tree, and it's just that's like, bravo, like, you know what I mean? Like, well done for taking the piss out of yourself, having the courage to acknowledge some of the ridiculousness of it all. And that was always something, like, I remember even reading the books. Like, the books had funny moments in them, and they didn't necessarily transfer over to the TV series because like Game of Thrones was so po-faced. It was so serious at times. There were brief moments in it where the humor kind of slipped in, only because it was unavoidable, I think. But in this, like, and I mean, I'm not saying they're yucking it up, like, it's not like being played for laughs or whatever, but it's just naturally funny, that kind of way. There's a kind of it's, and I'm not just saying this, it has a very Irish sensibility. I'm not just saying this because, like, Owen Claffey is in it and Tom Vaughan Lawler's in it and they shot it here and all the rest of it, but it does have a very kind of, like, there's a sort of a dark kind of gallows-y humour to it, but then it's also very sentimental. It felt very Irish. I was watching it and it felt very Irish to me, in a good way. Not like it's a fucking cheapy fucking RTE production and looks like shit. I'm not saying it in that way. I'm just saying in the sensibility of it, the vibes felt very homely to me. Kind of like Andor, like the first season of Andor. Especially that last episode, the last episode of the first season of Andor, when it's the funeral for Andor's adoptive mother. Like, I was watching that, I was like, this looks like a fucking IRA funeral, like, It's like when she comes up on the thing and she looked like Maura Drum, like, you know what I mean? Like, it felt like I was like, shit, this feels like, it makes sense in a way because, our Irish, we are, I mean, I know, I'm always kind of worried that this is like being kind of parochial and saying it, but like, we're fucking great, in fairness. Like, I mean, look what Jessie Buckley's doing. She's going to win an Oscar, Paul Mescal's going to win an Oscar at some point. We're doing all right, like, and, it's, if you don't laugh, you'll cry. Maybe that's the kind of sensibility we should all kind of have. I don't know. Anyways, Night of the Seven Kingdoms, really, really enjoyed it. Loved the colour. Loved the fact that it was not that kind of grim, dark, I can barely see what's going on vibe. I loved the fact that it had light and shade. Like when Daniel Ings is in this and he plays, I forget his name, but he's Lionel Baratheon, the Laughing Storm. And he comes out wearing this like yellow and black tunic thing that made me think of like kind of like, Venetian Baroque or something like that. Like a dandy, that kind of way. And I was like, fucking, that's brilliant. Like, he looks like he's got like a little earring and stuff as well, that kind of way. Like, it's really like, yeah, cool. And again, you think of Game of Thrones, you think of, like, I'm not gone on House of the Dragon. Like, that show has done nothing for me at all. I tried watching it. I was like, this is just more of the same. It's all the houses. It's all, stakes are high. I have to control Westeros, yada, yada, yada. I mean, I get it. It's, power play. It's, high octane, politicking and bloodshed on an epic scale, and it's all about epic scale and fantasy and da 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 da. But like the best fantasy books that I've read, I'm thinking like Discworld, Princess Bride. You know, it's low stakes. Okay, yeah, fine. Princess Bride, it's about them trying to start a war with another country, but that's almost kind of like, it's almost happenstance, you know, that sort of way. It's not really in the middle of it. It's really about, you know, a guy and a girl and a giant and a recovering alcoholic trying to get revenge and stuff. It really, this A Night of the Seven Kingdoms reminded me of The Princess Bride. All the things I love about The Princess Bride were in this. They were present in this. And, you know, I've talked before about how much I love The Princess Bride. So much that I got choked up talking about how much I love it. And Fanula Jones has my copy of The Princess Bride. Fanula, if you're listening to this, I loaned it to you. I want it back. You're not fucking keeping it. Read it, please. By all means, enjoy it. Watch the film. She hasn't seen the film, by the way. She has not seen Princess Bride. That's pretty egregious in my mind. I'm just going to say that. Fanula was over. I did Flop Culture. I did Bop or Flop for Stranger Things, the finale. You can listen to that. That's on her Patreon. I've already talked about Stranger Things season 5. I don't need to go into it. I've already talked about Conformity Gate. Don't need to go into it. It's all been proven to be bullshit. It's all just, you know, the Duffer Brothers just had to land this thing, and yeah. Okay. I think I got everything. Bit of a roller coaster this week, gotta say. Thank you for sticking with it. Thank you for listening. I am sorry for being a complete moany hole. Yeah. I don't. Oh God. Yeah. I think I just need to see the sun, because I'm looking at the window now. I'm actually facing the window. I'm trying to shake it up a little bit, and I'm facing the window of the office, and I'm looking out just to try see if I can see sunlight. And it's just all grey. It's just all grey. There's nothing there, you know. Yeah. Okay. Hope you have a good rest of your week. Let me know if you're enjoying the show. What have you been watching? Tell me what you've been watching, listener. What are you listening to? What are you watching? What are you? Anything good? Anything you can recommend me that I haven't seen? Anything that you've seen that I haven't seen? Hook a brother up, okay? Give me a recommendation. Let me know what you're watching. Let me know what you're enjoying. I'm playing Mass Effect 2 again, by the way. I fucking downloaded the Legendary Edition of Mass Effect 2, and I've been enjoying that. Yeah. So that's what I'm kind of filling my hours with, because, you know, you got to find your pleasures where they are. All right. Be good. Talk to you next time. All the best.